Hello, what I'd like to do is give you a quick little demonstration here of the end result of replacing the ejector spring on this little Rossi ranch hand rifle here. I made a bit of a video on this before, but just to give you an idea of what I've done, because this is not a science, this is kind of by trial and error. I have these two springs. Now, the skinny one here, you can see that. There we go. The skinny one on the one side is 0.25 in diameter, the spring thickness of the wiring, and the other one is twice as thickness at 0.050. So the spring I put in this rifle is almost exactly half the strength, and putting that in there has made a huge difference with this gun, in terms of, especially when it comes to closing the bolt again. Because when you close the bolt with a heavy ejector spring, that last little bit here, where these slides have to ride up along a angled ramp and push that bolt ahead, the last little bit to. That's where it compresses the ejector spring, and that's a hard close with a heavy spring. So that was one reason to consider lightening the spring on this gun. The other reason is if you're a reloader, that's something that you don't want to have happen, is have your cases kick out halfway across the yard or the shooting range. So if you have a little lighter spring, as long as it gets those cases out of there, that's nothing but good. So what I'm going to do here is, fortunately I have the new spring in now. I should have made a video of it before I put I still had the old one in to show you how far it kicked the cases at that time, but I have an empty case here, no primer in it. And I would put a dummy round in there, but the dummy round has lead bullet in it, and with that extra weight, of course it's not going to kick as far. But when you're actually shooting the rifle, you're going to be kicking out empty cases, so this is a pretty good way of replicating that. So as you eject the case, this is the kind of behavior you're going to get. Now maybe a couple other things I'll mention while we're at it with this. The springs, for getting a replacement spring, what I did is I just bought a bag full of assorted springs from the hardware store. Got it from Princess Auto actually. And I don't know, it didn't cost us a few bucks, $5 or whatever. And I got a whole 101 different springs. So took the gun apart and sorted through all those springs, and that's how I kind of matched it up with a thinner one. So that's how I did that. Maybe a couple other points here too. You want to put some black electrical tape around your sight here to hold this little ramp here from sliding back and forth, because it's got level steps on it, and these little rifles, they kick like crazy. So not that it hurts you, but they do recoil a lot, and because of the recoil, you'll find out there are a few shots that that your sight will probably start to ride down on the little elevator there, down the steps. So keep the elevator with the hump pointing this way towards the forward, like it is out of the factory, and then when you wrap that tape tight around there, it's going to kind of stretch around it. You can see that a little bit clearer. It stretches around it a little bit, and effectively working as a good catch, or just holding that in place. And I find it doesn't move at all. The other thing with these guns is let's put a Marble Arms front sight. I forget what the model number is, but the gun shoots so high coming out of the factory that you can't even adjust the rear sight enough to bring it down, so you have to replace the front sight unless you're content with shooting a foot high at, let's say, 25 yards, which is pretty bad actually. And another thing you might want to do too, you see the wrapping, my wife put that on there, that's actually Indian tanned moose hide. But whatever you get, you know, something that's kind of soft and fairly cushy, because when you shoot this gun, the recoil jams back like that, so like your finger is in there, and it'll jam back against that finger. I'm not giving you the finger, I'm just showing you the finger that it hits, and you'll get a bruise right on your knuckle there. So one thing that helps in that is having this wrapped, and you want that wrapping to go right in behind the trigger, but not so thick that that your trigger can't move back. Okay, so keep it tight around there, and you should still have room. If you really get desperate, I guess you can always take a Dremel tool and shorten that trigger a little bit too, but this works just fine. And you don't want it so thick that it doesn't close up all the way to the stock too. But this works fine. See there, eh? Okay, aside from that, the other thing you want to do, the gun comes with a little fancy little lace shoestrings or whatever, tie straps hooked around this hoop. Bad idea. That is going to eventually get stuck around your trigger when you're cycling the rifle or some other stupid thing, and it just is dangerous. Take those stupid little things on there, unless you really are gonna, you're in the 0.05% of the people buying this that actually is gonna need to strap it onto a scabbard. Everybody else just take those little leather ties off. And when it comes to the forearm, be real careful about taking this bolt out. I know you might have to. I insist on taking rifle apart because you should be able to service it. But the way this gun came from the factory, that bolt was bent and actually broken inside, so I had to send it back. Now if you've got a Rossi ranch hand now and they're discontinued, I kind of doubt that you can have factory warranty. I don't know that, but I kind of wonder about that, because I think it's only for 6 months or whatever. So if you break that bolt, you're going to have to figure out some way of getting a bolt just like it, which is not going to be easy. And it might have to be fitted to get through this bracket, because they just don't do a very good job at Rossi. It's very roughly made guns, turned up by people that don't want to spend very much time at it or are not very well trained. I don't know what, but there's a lot of little missing things about quality-wise about these guns. Having said that, once you get her set up, it's a really nice gun actually, and I'm having a great time with it. Okay, so that's what I thought I'd show you. On this rifle here, what I've done is a few things. Rossi ranch hands, as I've mentioned in other videos, they're rough guns as they come out of the factory. This one, and I think they all need a lot of work, especially smoothing up the action. This one here is just as smooth as silk. You know, Model 94 Winchesters, those are nice and smooth too as a rule. This is every bit as good, every bit, maybe even better. I took it apart and I stoned a lot of the bearing surfaces and buffed them up and stuff like that. So that did a lot of good for this gun. Might want to consider doing that. And if you want to know how to take them apart and put them back together, I got videos for that too. So have at her.